yo, no me estés bromeando así. Le dije, no.
Little 3-month-old Abraham Ramirez died in the final days of that heated Republican runoff for sheriff. We're not blaming Rand Henderson for what this baby's family may have allowed to happen. And if this guy really broke all those bones in that little boy's body, he can rot in hell.
My management philosophy is authentic leadership.
But the sheriff's handling of the case of little Abraham has exposed him. We found out a sheriff's deputy had been asked to go check on the little boy's mom the day before Abraham was taken to the hospital, all beaten up. A citizen had called in about possible domestic abuse. That deputy was Paris Ponton. Henderson refuses to show us the body camera video. It apparently contains a racial slur, as well as some sloppy police work.
The video shows me going to the house, beating on the door. It's a mobile home. Nobody comes to the door.
Those are the deputy's own words, caught on a secret audio recording we have. He's now in trouble behind closed doors.
And basically they're trying to say that, had I actually done a welfare check, I might have saved that baby and that lady.
That's because a relative was outside, and the beaten baby was apparently inside. Ponton didn't ask to look, nor did he call back the person who complained.
When I got inside, the cop was already leaving or whatever. When I got inside the house, I was sat down, and that's when I heard the baby cry.
Protecting the most innocent among us has to be the primary goal of a sheriff. But he's fighting hard to keep this botched welfare check a secret. Henderson won't let us see the deputy's personnel records.
They filed a complaint on me, and I was supposed to be promoted this Saturday.
Even after that botched welfare check, we learned Ponton was set to be promoted, and that only was put on hold because we made this case public.
How do you say it? They're highly sensitive right now.
Now Sheriff Henderson may have a bigger problem. Just who is he hiring to protect abused women and children in Montgomery County? Before Ponton was hired by Rand Henderson, he was an HPD officer with a troubled history of suspensions, at least 5 sustained IAD complaints. The most recent, a 20-day suspension because he supposedly fell into a ditch after drinking heavily, discharging his service weapon at least twice. But there's more. HPD knew that Ponton had been repeatedly accused of child abuse. His ex-wife's sworn affidavit said his own 6 children were scared of him, quoting, "He gets so angry and loses control." Yet this is the guy Rand Henderson sent to do domestic violence wellness checks.
I think you have to do thorough background investigations to determine who's suitable for employment and serve the community the way we expect them to.
Wesley Doolittle, a former Texas Ranger, is running against Henderson to be the next Montgomery County Sheriff. He called for the release of the body camera video and transparency right away. But for 2 weeks, he simply refused to talk to us on camera until we showed him Ponton's history.
But I didn't want to make it political or to seem political about my campaign. I don't want to hide from the media. I want to be an open and transparent person.
Doolittle says the botched welfare check should not be swept under the rug, but used instead to learn to better protect abused women and children.
I believe in growing and teaching your employees. I'll tell you that in most domestic calls like that, you want to see the victims. You want to see what's going on to make sure they're okay.
And the former Texas Ranger says he's finally ready to call out the sheriff publicly for trying to hide this whole affair.
And especially with some of the allegations that I've seen here, the public expects better from us in our community. And they also expect to know when something's happening so we can ensure that it does not happen again.
But the controversy swirling around baby Abraham's death isn't the only reason Doolittle is now doing this on-camera interview, and we asked him why.
Well, to address the issues, to address the false narrative that they're driving about me.
Sheriff Henderson has taken plenty of shots at Doolittle, who's exposing rising crime in Montgomery County, unanswered 911 calls, and now this veil of secrecy. In the final days of the campaign, you know what the sheriff is talking about? The size of Doolittle's cowboy hat.
Just because you dress up and put a cowboy hat on doesn't make you a sheriff.
I grew up wearing a cowboy hat in Texas. I was a Texas Highway Patrolman. I wore a cowboy hat. I was a Texas Ranger for 13 years. I believe I've earned the right to wear the white hat that represents our Texas values of honesty. It's traditional things that we value in Texas, and those values built our state.
The amount of money being spent in this Republican runoff is staggering. The sheriff has accused this former ranger of accepting out-of-state dark money. He's turned a contribution from a developer of Colony Ridge into a suggestion that somehow cartel money is coming in the race.
They're just scared, and they're throwing out things about me that are not true.
I know the business. Fear tactics often work, but the sheriff then has some explaining to do about his own campaign contributions. He's raised more than $1 million, some of it from companies who won big contracts at the sheriff's office. The guy who runs Christensen Building has donated more than $65,000. They've got contracts to build a new indoor shooting range, expansion of the District 4 Sheriff's Office.
Jerry Boyle pleaded guilty to committing mail fraud as part of his actions and providing money and other goods to the former sheriff.
Their founder was busted for bribes, but the sheriff has taken money from the Wellpath PAC. They've got a contract for health services in the jail. One of his biggest donors, an oncologist in Montgomery County named Asit Choksi. We found his mugshot from a 2017 arrest for a terrorist threat. He supposedly threatened his wife with a gun. But here's something weird. You just can't find out whatever happened to that case. It just disappeared. But folks in Montgomery County really don't care about this battle over campaign contributions. They just care about safety, rising crime, a 911 system that seems to ignore some calls. And they should care about transparency. Rand Henderson has simply failed that test time and time again. At least with us. He kept the murder of this little baby a secret for weeks, and he's simply not coming clean about what went wrong here.
We have an expectation from our community to be open and transparent with them. You have to let people know what's happening.